I was supposed to get a haircut yesterday. Wait, no, Friday. Supposed to get a haircut on Friday. What's up, guys? William here. Just hanging out. Just doing a little bit of an AMA sort of thing. Just chatting, just hanging out, getting some hours up. I'm away from home, as I do on many of my days working. So I'm on the. Oh, let's. I'm on the. Maybe that'll be better if I can keep a connection. Whoa. That might actually be better. So I'm working. I'm at a. So I do caregiving basically 2.5 days a week. So today's my first full day of caregiving. Then I'll be all day tomorrow, and then through tomorrow night, and then I'll be good. I actually get to sleep tonight. Tomorrow is my 32-hour day that I have to go through. But I don't know. Sometimes I just want to go get some live going, get online, hang out, ask you guys, chat with people. Hope everybody's doing good. So we'll wait for someone to come in here. Oh. All right. Do a little short, impromptu little food critique here. Me goring. Indomie. I think this is from the Philippines. I think so. Anyway, it's like an instant noodle, kind of like ramen here in the US. Right here. Very good. Good until January 4th, 2025. Good shelf life. So my wife is Filipino, and this is one of the first things she made me. She's a chef, but she knows I love this stuff. These are really good. I'd put these above Top Ramen. When I was growing up, Top Ramen was, something that, just quick and easy. Throw it on the stovetop. Boil some water. The usual. And so, but, when I was single, stuff like Top Ramen was cheap and easy to get, right? Cheap and easy. Got you fed. Got you through the day. Not very many like macronutrients, obviously. It's just instant noodles. Instant noodles were actually created post World War II in Japan, basically to keep Japanese from starving. But my wife from the Philippines introduced me to this mee goreng. It's very good. I like it. It's got more seasoning. This is the hot and spicy one. I I basically she went into the store herself to get this. Um, I would have preferred just the original. I like the original more than the hot and spicy, but the hot and spicy itself is very good itself. And then she got me a snack, baconette strips. I've never eaten this. She thinks I did. My wife thinks that I do a lot of things. Like she gets dinner, she starts thinking about something, and she thinks I do something, but I don't. Like she goes, "Well, I got you this stuff before." I was like, "No, you haven't." She goes, "Yes, I have." You know, if you're a married man, you know, kind of like don't argue with the whole thing because it's just gonna cause an argument that shouldn't be argued. So I stopped. I'm like, okay, but I've never had these before. Never. So I mean, obviously it's not bacon. It's potato. Look at the texture. Uh, I mean, salty as you're gonna get with chips. You know what it reminds me of? It reminds me a little bit of maybe like Funyuns a little bit. Not bad. I like chips, so definitely salt. Not bad. So obviously it's been about a week since Congress passed the supplemental aid bill for Ukraine, Taiwan, and Israel. Now, Speaker Mike Johnson put in, kind of like snuck in the TikTok divestment bill. Now, he wouldn't have done that if if the president and the administration didn't signal strong support to sign the bill. Now, kind of snuck that bill in there, right? And the Senate passed it. Wow, I need to shave. Dude, look at my curl. My hair curls right up. Anyway, so they passed that bill, I believe, last Friday. The Senate passes it last Monday morning, and the president signs it the same day. Now, basically, people keep calling this a TikTok ban. It's not a ban in that sense. What it is TikTok divestment. The law states that the company that holds TikTok in the US, ByteDance, must, within 100 and something days, I forget how many days it is, like 160 days or something like that, they have to sell the company. They have to divest from TikTok. Now, the prevailing wisdom, and from what I understand, the intelligence involved from the US, is that ByteDance, TikTok, is a front to gathering information on American citizens. Now, I guess there's been testimony and from former TikTok executives stating or alluding to this. There are a lot of backdoor intelligence briefings that I guess allude to this as well. But now I'm not a conspiracy theorist, so I don't have access to any of the intel. But here's the thing from me. You have somebody, a CEO of this company, is saying that they refuse to divest and they would rather watch TikTok in the US burn to the ground than take the windfall of money that would come their way. If you're any type of critical thinker and you understand how much money a group would be willing to pay for TikTok, you would have to think it's crazy that a CEO would rather watch his company burn to the ground than to sell it and make billions of dollars and ride off into the sunset, a rich man for the rest of his life. Add to that the irony that the CEO is from Hong Kong, an area that is now controlled by the Chinese Communist Party. It leads credence, just the way that they're acting lends credence to the accusation that TikTok is a front. I just don't get it. Like, and all the freak out. Like, you have all these people on TikTok freaking out about this thing. Like there aren't any other platforms that they could use. Like, hey, YouTube. Hey, Instagram, Facebook Live. There's so many other companies that you can go to put out social media. Why are they so hung up on TikTok? You know what other country banned TikTok? India. India has more people than the US. And Indians who were popular on TikTok seem to have done just fine moving over to YouTube and Instagram and other social media sites to continue their creator life. It's just really weird to me. It's really weird to me how they're continuing to call it a TikTok ban when it's not a ban. It's a law that's forcing this company to divest. And it's not a hampering of somebody's First Amendment rights either. These are companies. If a government, I guess, feels that you are a security risk, they're not saying that you can't have TikTok. They're saying that your company can't own it anymore. But why would you not take the billions of dollars that you're going to get? That just makes me think that everybody who's claiming that this is a front for Chinese intelligence, there's some validity there. Because, I mean, I would gladly go to YouTube full time if I was a massive TikTok creator, because you're going to make more money on YouTube. Wouldn't be freaking out about it. And if I was a CEO of a company like TikTok and people were coming at me with billions of dollars, I would rather sell the company than let it burn to the ground. And also they're like, hey, we will sell. I think also there's a story that says we'll sell TikTok, but we're not going to give you like the back end information, the code and everything that makes it run, the algorithm and everything. Well, that's weird. Why would you not give everything in regards to allowing the company to continue to run and be successful? I don't know. It seems to me that this law is really going to push TikTok out of the US, but the reason it's going to be pushed out of the US is, in my opinion, just stupid. Doesn't make sense to me. I don't know why. Anyway, it's my rant for the day. My mind runs through that stuff. It's like, if I'm looking at a windfall of billions of dollars, why do you not take that windfall? It's weird. Ooh. I don't know what this is. I'm not a guy who I don't paint my nails, so I don't know what this is. It's kind of cool though. I'm doing this off of data. I'm not doing this off the internet. My internet can go out at any time. My connection can go out at any time. And you know what I should do? I should go get my my power cord. I should. Hmm. Also, if you're here, put a like on the video if you want. I gotta ask a question. Question that always has me dying to get an answer. Can somebody tell me why, for the love of God? So you got all these protesters. So you got all these Palestinian protesters, like you got these pro-Palestinian protesters, and they have decided that what they want to do is block roadways. Well, at least that's what they started to do. Can somebody tell me why they think it's a good idea to block roadways and impede traffic? And I got to be honest with you, the places that they choose to do this are like the cities that would have like the most sympathy towards, who they are, right? Like cities that would probably be more supportive of what they're trying to do. So it's always weird to me. Like they were doing this for, this has been like, I don't know, this has been a thing. They did it for Black Lives Matter. Like when I lived in Seattle, I would have to deal with that. But do these people honestly believe that by blocking your ability to get to work, to get home, blocking ambulances, whatever, is going to get people on their side? Or do they just want to piss people off? Just, I don't know. It's just weird to me. I'm going to read some book while you guys hang out. I have a lot of Halo books. These Halo books are way better than the TV show. That Halo TV show sucked ass, by the way, guys. If you're a Halo fan and you don't like the fact that I say this show sucked ass, Fallout. The Fallout show that I watched, that one actually adapted a video game properly. Like, there's so much good acting in that show. Like, some of it was over the top, obviously, but there was so much good acting in that show. You could tell that the people who created it actually loved the show. The creators actually were big fans of the show. But then you got Halo, the TV show, where the people who created it literally sat there and said, "We never played the game. We never picked up the game. We never played the game. We don't know what Halo's about, but we'll make a show about it." And I'm like, I knew 3 years ago, the minute I heard that the people who created the show had never actually played the game or read any of the material for Halo, I knew at that moment that show was going to suck. The first episode told me everything I needed to know about how bad that show is going to be. No questions today. Okay, that's cool. That's why I stick to the books. The books are actually canon. The books tell a story. They follow a story. You know, like the Kilo 3 trilogy was pretty good. Um, some of the books like Shadows of Reach, is pretty good. Where Blue Team goes back to Reach and has to recover what they never actually tell you what they recover in this book. Most people assume that it's weapon, the AI that you get attached to that's supposed to kill Cortana. Most people believe or assume that that's what Blue Team took in Shadows of Reach. Now we don't know. Nobody tells you. They don't tell you for certain what the item was, but it's a good book. It's very interesting too. Very interesting because wait. Oh, okay. Shadows of Reach. Yeah. The other one that I like is anything to do with Gray Team. If you know what Gray Team is basically uh, three Spartans who just caused problems as children during the program. They'd run away, all sorts of stuff, and they tried to steal stuff. They were rebellious in nature. They didn't follow orders very well, and they were turned basically into their own team, their own 3-man team. And any book with that is really good for me. The that's actually the team that was responsible for um, destroying one of the St. Helios, one of the worlds of the St. Helios, caused a lot of death. But it happened basically after the war had ended, after the official armistice between the humans and the elites had been signed. But the Great Team didn't know because they were out of reach of any traditional communications with the UNSC because that's basically what their entire mission set was. Like if you've ever read the book Halo Fall of Reach, you know that there's a part towards the end where all the Spartans are in a room, are in their auditorium where they trained. They're in there again. They're all together, and the admiral that comes up, I think it's Admiral Hood, not I can't remember, but the admiral comes up and he goes, "Today we have gathered every available Spartan that we can get minus 3 who are too far outside to be easily recalled." That is Gray Team. What Gray Team would do is Gray Team would basically work on their own, go out on missions far behind Covenant lines, and they would just wreak havoc. And they would do it by themselves with little or no control from the UNSC command structure. That was their entire mission, was to sow chaos. They would assassinate people. They would just foment rebellion, kill, cause all sorts of problems. And one of the things that they did was, towards the end of the Covenant War, they were actually given a Nova bomb. And in the Halo universe, Nova bomb is one of the most powerful nuclear devices they own that they've created. It's basically a world destroyer, and they were told to go destroy a Covenant world, a St. Helios world, to fracture the Covenant. They didn't realize that when they destroyed that the war was over, and so they killed a lot. And so there's a book. What is that book? I have that book too. Hold on, I'm gonna see if I still have it. Give me a second. I'll be right back. so I don't have that book, so I can't remember the name of it. But it's very good. Anything with, honestly, in my opinion, anything with Halo Grey Team is a very good novel. Because it shows that, it shows a human side of the Spartans. And it shows that they didn't always just blindly question orders. They had the ability to question things. That's funny. It's a good book. Shadows of Reach. Basically, this happens after Cortana goes renegade and starts to try to control the universe. Basically, like right afterwards. And well, Blue Team, which is John, Fred, Linda, and Kelly, are sent to Reach, which still has glass on it. But post the war, people have resettled there to try to break through the glass and repopulate the world. But as is the Halo universe, it's at this point that we start to see regular banished activity. So they come across basically a guerrilla movement of the survivors, of the human survivors still on, who resettled back on Reach. Underneath the ice, they've created bases, and on top, you've got the brutes and not just the brutes, but the banished, who are looking for, Forerunner technology, which they always do. It's always Forerunner technology that they're trying to look for. And Blue Team's trying to get to Castle Base, which used to be where they trained, the O&I facility, to retrieve a piece of equipment that Dr. Halsey has informed them that they need to get. And basically, the blue team is right now trying to talk the humans into not attacking the banished, because they're telling the humans that if they attack the banished are going to wipe them out. But the humans are under the thought that that the blue team is there to save them. So basically, the humans there are trying to rebuild, and they're talking about how all the microbes, everything in the soil was burned away during the class, so they're trying to reintroduce that. So a lot of the people in here, a lot of the humans that they put into this book that were resettlers were from Reach before it was glassed. They either escaped during the fall of Reach, or they left long before that, and now coming back after the war. You know, it's interesting about this one. This too talks about, points to the human side of the Spartans. You know, weighing mission parameters versus what's best for humans colonists. Like right here. Hi, love. Denny's downstairs. He's just resting. Taking a break upstairs. Eating some roasted peanuts. How are the cats? I love you too. You are the best. By the way, these are good. They remind me of kind of like Funyuns a little bit. Some salt in them, but they're good. No, what they remind me of, there's a chip called potato skins. That's what it reminds me of. Yeah. I don't know what brand potato skins are, but they're good. That's what these remind me of. You know, I realized you got me the spicy mi goreng as I was opening it today. And I was like, oh, spicy. Good. Am I acoustic? What do you mean? I'm in a room, sound bouncing off the walls. Does that mean? Or are you asking, am I autistic? Because the answer to am I autistic is no. I don't know what you mean by acoustic. You have to explain that. I can't answer yes or no unless you tell me. Well, if you're going to ask a question that requires you to sit there and say, if you know, you know, then that's a question that I can't answer for you because I obviously don't know what you're talking about because I don't know who you are. I don't know you on a personal level, so I can't really answer the question. Sweet. Awesome. Fatty McFattenstein. Okay. That's a different one. Certainly. Restarted? You might need better grammar, is what you might need. Because your spelling is atrocious. 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 That's what that is. It's a thing. Shut up, man. If you know, you know. But I appreciate the interaction. Yes, he is, love. But unfortunately, that's what you get. That's what you run into. Oh, well, thank you. Anyway, so I watched the entire Fallout series in like 2 days. Couldn't put it down. Like kept just moving on to the next one. I think when I started watching it, it was really late in the evening, so I had to kind of like I lost track of time. I had to stop it because I wasn't able to focus on like actually understanding the show because I was getting tired. But you know, shows like that, the show it was like the complete opposite of what the Halo show was for me. Like my wife watched as I watched the Halo show this last year, and like she, oh my gosh, her she would watch me just get frustrated with that show because of how bad that show was. That show was just terrible. Like there was nothing good about that show. You know, you could have easily just you could have made a show in the Halo universe with people in armor never taking their helmet off, and it would have been better. It was bad acting, bad writing, bad CG. You know, that's something that surprised me. You would think going into a show where you have to actually show aliens, shoot plasma, all that stuff, that you would at least be halfway decent at your CG. The CG in that show was terrible. I don't believe you see. I don't think there's a single instance in that show where you see a grunt. All you see are jackals and elites. That's all you see. When I think about that, when I think back right now, I don't think there's a single point where you see a grunt or a hunter. You don't see any Yan Yep or Yan Mei. Sorry, Yan Mei. Like you don't see anything like that because they just cheap. It's like they cheaped out on the budget. And then the guy who plays, you're not wrong. You know the guy that plays the Master Chief when they talk to him about, why are you taking your mask off? Why are you taking your helmet off? It's not, and the whatever he goes, he said this stupid response. He goes, well, I need to take my helmet off so that you know what I'm thinking as a character, so that you know what John is thinking as the character. Let me tell you guys, if you play the games, you never once you see Spartan 117's eyes once, and that's in Halo 4 if you beat it on Legendary. And it's at the very end when they zoom into his eyes after they take his helmet off. After he like steps into that carousel thing or whatever, and they start taking his armor off. If you beat the game on Legendary, it zooms in and you see his eyes. That's it. You see basically like a lined face, like a weathered face, which makes sense because, they're like 40 years old. And so, like, that's what you see. But not once in that game, in that entire series, do you have to ask yourself what the chief is thinking, because body language is like 90% of what conveys a message back and forth, right? It is like it's about 90% of what lets us know what you're thinking. There's a really good scene in Halo 4, I think, towards the middle of the game, where Master Chief is sitting on an ammo box and he's slumped over and his hands are on his elbows are on his knees, his head is down, and you can just tell that he's tired and that, that he's just, he's there, right? Mentally he's tired. That conveys more emotion than I ever saw on the actor who played Master Chief in the TV show in 2 seasons. And then don't get me started with how they introduced the Flood. Okay, first of all, I know people are going to always be contrarian, but here's the thing. If you read into Halo lore, they specifically, in the show and in the books, it is specifically Onyx. Now, if you know what Onyx is a shield world. Now, what a shield world was for, basically, the Forerunners had a sword and a shield. The Halo rings were the sword that would be used to kill everything in the universe to starve out the Flood. The Onyx and the worlds like it were shield worlds, which were to be used to house the species that would repopulate the universe after the Flood had starved. Now, it makes absolutely zero sense to me to sit there and think that a covenant, that a Forerunner would be holding experiments on Onyx, a shield world, with the Flood. That makes absolutely no sense to me. Really, it doesn't. And if you read Halo lore, if you understand what Halo is, it would make no sense to you either. But of course, there's always been people like, well, that's what they're experimenting. The shield worlds were one, very secret. Only the librarian and people she trusted knew about shield worlds. Okay? The very few people at that time, because this was the Forerunners this was basically the Forerunners insurance policy. Oh, thank you, whoever liked. I appreciate it. This is basically the Forerunners insurance policy, if you would, about the Flood. They knew they couldn't beat the Flood in a head-to-head fight. They were too numerous, especially when I believe it was Mendicant Bias was tainted by the Grave Mind and turned against them and was able to help penetrate the Forerunner defenses. Right? They couldn't beat them in a battle. They couldn't outlast them. They knew that they couldn't do that. So their only hope was the Halo rings, knowing that in the Halo rings it would destroy even themselves, but every bit of life on the Earth. but they knew they had to repopulate the universe. And so while the Didact was in charge of fighting and in charge of the Halo rings and firing them, his wife, the librarian, was in charge of cataloging all the species in the world and putting them in shield worlds, and some of them, well, no, all of them in shield worlds, actually, into shield worlds, so that at a certain point in time they could go back into the universe and repopulate the universe. So it made absolutely no sense in the term of Halo for a show for Halsey to randomly come across a non what is it a non decomposed forerunner with an actual like live sample of the flood inside of a shield world. When I saw that, I was like, oh my god, they're really going to do this. Look, I get it. People, you have to introduce the flood at some level. You know, that show, if the very first episode of that show would have just been opening like it would have, like Halo CE opened 20 plus years ago with the Pillar of Autumn shooting through space, getting shot at by Covenant ships, and then the evacuation of the Pillar of Autumn, and the first season being Master Chiefs running around with Cortana, that would have been perfect. They could have adapted Halo, the first game, into a show. They could have put a human element in it, because if you read the book, Halo the Flood, there were humans that survived that created a base on the Halo ring, and from there they committed missions to try to get off the planet. They could have put in a human element to everything, but they just decided that they knew better than 20 plus years of lore and accuracy. They knew better, and theirs was better than anything else. It's so frustrating to me as a person who tried to follow the development of that show for years to see it come and be that bad. I just, you know, the worst part about that, you know, you know, it's so frustrating because it could have been so much better. They could have done what Resident Evil did, right? Resident Evil tried the live action. The live action strayed way too far from the source material. They ended those movies, and then they started making animated movies for Resident Evil. And those animated movies, by and large, have been amazing and excellent. They are within the universe. They follow the universe. They give you good stories. They give you you know what? They follow Rebecca Chambers. They actually show you the progression of who these people become between the games and after the original Resident Evil game. Rebecca Chambers becomes a respected scientist who works tirelessly to find cures and vaccines for bioweapons. You know, you know, they could have done an anthology series of Halo in an animated version, in an animated form, and actually done amazingly well. And yet they didn't want to do that. They wanted to screw up an established series and bring in people who didn't know anything about the Halo show. This is quickly becoming a Halo show rant, because every time I think after watching that Fallout show of what could have been, the memes write themselves. You know, watching that Fallout show, I was like, you know, as a Halo fan, if at least one person writing that show of Halo would have at least been a fan of Halo, maybe we could have had something better. You know, and I'm going to be honest with you. The other thing it reminds me of is the Wheel of Time. If you are a Wheel of Time fan, if you read those books, I read those books as a kid. When I was like 12 years old, one of my best friends, Josh, introduced me to those books. I've read those books. I have most of those books. I need to rebuy the series in like a better better binding. But if you are a fan of the Wheel of Time and you watch that show. Like, it frustrated me so much because everything about that show. Because here's the thing. You can create new fans of a book adaptation or of a show adaptation or anything like that. You can create new fans without destroying the base of what makes it what it was. Right? You don't have to redo the universe. You don't have to reinvent the wheel, I guess is the best way to put it. You don't have to reinvent the wheel. And they always think they have to reinvent the wheel and change things. And when they change these things, it just screws everything up. I'll be right back. All right, now I hope this stays. I'm gonna go downstairs. All right, now it's time for me to do just a little bit of work. I'm gonna make a sandwich for the person I'm taking care of, for Denny. Now, this is the bread we get. Artesian, golden wheat. I love it. It's good. So, bread. Basic thing, making a sandwich. Mayo. Actual mayo, not Miracle Whip. For some moisture, you know. Nobody likes eating a dry sandwich. So, right here, just gonna put it up there. There you go. That's enough. Nice thin layer. Nothing like soupy or anything. Now my sister, when I was a kid, she'd make tuna salad, right? Got some ham, Black Forest. Now, she would make tuna fish, but she would put so much like Miracle Whip. Like when I was in school, when I was a kid, it was Miracle Whip, right? The solution, the thing you should eat instead of mayonnaise, Miracle Whip, just lard basically. And she would make the tuna fish, and basically the best way to describe it is it was tuna fish swimming in Miracle Whip. It was the grossest thing ever, guys. Like it turned me off of tuna fish to this day. Now, I don't even think my wife doesn't even make me tuna fish. Now, right? 2 halves of a sandwich. And we're gonna get some chips. honey Dijon. Now, kettle brown chips, honey Dijon. Good flavor, good flavor. Now, when we first started taking care of this gentleman, all he would eat was soup. Okay, but since he tolerates sandwiches, all sorts of good stuff. So here you go. There you go, right there. Nice ham sandwich with some chips. And he likes it. That's what he likes. It's the stuff that he likes. A Coke, I'll give him a Coke for it. So, Here you go. Sandwich with some chips. Thank you. You're welcome. You want to go home tonight? No, I'm good. I'm here. Yep. I'm here. You're okay. You're welcome. He's a very nice guy. All right. We'll go back upstairs, okay? Are you okay? All right. So that's what I do. He's very good, man. We're lucky to have a client like him. If anybody here has been around any family or understands the if anybody's ever had family or understands the process of, aging in the medical sense, you just need help, and that's him. He just needs help. So I don't have any. He's a good man. So. Phone's charging now. It's more common to find. It's more common to find really nice guys at this time. Still, grew up in the 70s and 80s. Actually, he grew up in the 50s or 60s. But it's just... The problem's always... We live in American culture. We have a culture that doesn't really center itself around taking care of, their elders. And it makes it very hard because there's such a generational gap. And it's very sad because some of these people, legitimately, as you get older, your body becomes frail, everything like that. You just can't take care of yourself the way you used to. And if you don't have the family structure and foundation willing to take care of you, your family's going to outsource that. They're going to make other people take care of you, and it's sad, because people, they're still human. People are, it doesn't matter how old you are, you're still a person, and sometimes you just need to be taken care of. Sometimes you just can't take care of yourself anymore. I've worked in nursing homes, I've worked in assisted living facilities, and it's the same story over and over. My wife and I moved down to California for the specific reason that we wanted to be close to her family, to her parents, because they're getting older and we want to make memories with them. And my wife has been making memories with her parents, and it has made her a happier person and a better person. And then when I look around, it's one of the biggest failings in my opinion of American culture these days is people just don't want to take care of their family once their family becomes what they see as a burden. Yes. Is it tough taking care of a guy who can't wipe his own ass? And I'm not saying that about my client. I'm saying this in a general sense. Like, yes, it is tough to take care of a guy who can't wipe his own butt when he poops, who can't put socks on by himself, who has to take medication to get through life, all this stuff. It's tough and it carries an emotional and physical burden. But, the problem is like these are somebody's family. There's genuinely there are people who have nobody. That does happen. There are people who just nope, they don't have anybody, nobody to take care of them. Okay, that's fine. But there's so many other people who, when they reach a certain age, it just the burden becomes too much for their family, and their family doesn't even want to try. And that for me is very sad to watch, because we witness this. I witnessed this kind of stuff firsthand. You know, People throw their family members into a nursing home or into assisted living, and they're expecting them to have the same quality of life that they would have at their own home. You know, and it doesn't work that way, unfortunately. You know, people at these facilities, they're not paid enough. They can only do so much. They're overworked. It just becomes way too much for them. So, you know, I find it I find it lucky that we were able to have such a great client that we have, and because of that, it makes it easier to get through it. And he's a good guy. So, I just made him dinner, which is good. I was going to make him a sandwich earlier in the day, but he likes his caramel popcorn so much, which is funny. He's an ice cream guy. He's an ice cream fiend. He loves ice cream. He'll get ice cream bars all day long. It's amazing. He'll be like, "Hey, can I get an ice cream bar?" We went to my wife and I went to Sam's Club on Friday. We went to Sam's Club on Friday. Yeah, and you know how in like in Costco they have the like the buy one get one free muffins, right? And there's 4 muffins or 6 muffins, and basically you get 12 muffins for the price of one of 6. Well, they have this thing. It was kind of expensive, but it was a massive tray of like little uh like so it was raspberry loaf cake. It was cheese Danish. It was bear claws. It was cinnamon. What was it? Cinnamon coffee cake, and then an iced lemon. Every single thing that this guy that I take care of loves. And he ate 2 cheese danishes this morning, and it was the best thing ever. I like I genuinely like this guy, and I look forward at times to the weekend and being able to take care of him, because like you just get the sense that he's a genuinely good guy, and he tried his best with his family. And I remember an interaction where the reason that I know he's not in a nursing home or an assisted living facility is because very forcefully he was like, "I do not ever want to leave this house. I don't want to live in a nursing home. I want to die in this house." And I guess when you get to that point in life, you know what you want, and you demand that you want it. So I like the guy. I hope my next client that I get, whether it be next week or 2 years from now, is just as good as him. Because it's really random. You never know what you're going to get. It's hard to navigate back and forth, uh, because there is uncertainty in what we do. Um, the family can just say no. The family can just have you stop. Um, Everybody passes away. You just don't know, and so you try to hold on to it as much as you can. But these are the clients that you really like. People like this who are just happy for you to be helpful. And my experience is in the my experience in the medical field is mainly focused around both medical offices and nursing homes. And one thing that I've learned, a lot of people don't a lot of people don't really understand how to properly take care of people in deteriorating mental states, dementia, stuff like that. They think that that's the end. But a lot of people don't understand that if you were diagnosed with dementia, right, or Alzheimer's, that's a years long process almost always. The body, you lose parts of your mind really slowly. It progresses faster as it gets farther along, as it gets nearer to the vital parts of the mind. But you could you could legitimately go a decade from losing your short-term memory to losing your long-term memory to losing the ability to pick up a fork or to speak. It's it can be a very, very long process. And it's the mental taxation on the family involved is immense. And a lot of times they don't understand what's going on, they themselves. Um, because it's too much for them. They don't want to take the time, everything, right? It just becomes too much for them. And when, when that happens, they're what I've seen in my history is the first reaction is often just throw them in a nursing home, regardless of their wishes. And what you have to realize about when you throw them into a nursing home or when you throw them into assisted living, that's an unfamiliar environment for them. And it only causes them more grief. I am a firm believer in home care, because here's the thing, here's the kicker. It costs just as much to take care of somebody at home as it does to take care of them in a nursing home or an assisted living facility. Oftentimes, it can actually be cheaper. Okay. Um, Oftentimes, it can actually be cheaper. I was working in an assisted living place that the people who lived there were spending $12,000 to $14,000 a month just to live there. Like that's like $160,000. What is it? 12, 20? Yeah, almost $150,000 yearly to live in a facility as an assisted living. So, oftentimes those places they're expensive, way more expensive monthly than than having someone come in and take care of them at the home. There's always that safety issue, of course. So you always have to kind of do a test run of as an in-home facility. Um, you give it a week and you're like, hey, I'm going to do this test run for a week. We'll see how the safety concerns with it are. But then if you do it for a week and you're like, all right, this is okay. We can do this. We can live with this. Uh, then you take care of the guy at home. And oftentimes, like I said, it can be cheaper to take care of someone at home than sticking them in a nursing home to for the rest of their days, because you forget people in the nursing. I've seen so many people go months without a visitor in an assisted living or a nursing home, and it is sad for me to look at because it's like they have family, especially if they're in a smaller town. They have family there that's supposed to be taking care of them. And if they don't have that family and that family, because once, because the thing is like this is like this circles back to why I get frustrated with the culture in America with stuff like this. It circles back to you put them in a nursing home and now you forget them. Now they're no longer your burden. And now you no longer have to come by every day to make sure they're okay. So now you can live your life free of the burden of whatever family member you had to take care of before. And so, it becomes somebody else's problem. You've kind of kicked the can to the other side of the road. You can now go on vacation out of country. You can now go on a vacation. You can now go on a cruise and not worry about what's happening with your family member because, oh, you're paying for them to be taken care of instead of them being in their home, comfortable, happy, all that stuff. So, I mean, I'm as I get older, as I work more in the field, as I do more stuff, you know, if it was me, I would want to be in my house being taken care of by somebody who is a professional or someone who's my family and being visited by my family as much as possible. Because here's the thing, guys. You don't know how long you have your family. Okay. I I I, I listened to a video once, right, where there was two guys talking to each other, and one guy asked the other, he goes, "How old's your dad?" And the guy goes, "My dad is my dad is 65 years old." And the guy goes, "Okay, how often do you see your dad?" And the guy goes, "About two times a year, Christmas, holidays. I see him on Christmas, and usually I'll see him on Thanksgiving." And the other guy goes, "Okay, so I believe," and at that time he goes, "I believe the average lifespan of a male in America at the time of this video, I think was like 80, 87 years old, 88 years old or something like that, right?" And he goes, "You see your father two times a year. That means you have 26 more times seeing your father before, if he's average, he passes away and you no longer get to see him again." And the guy that was being interviewed, the guy on the other side, you see his eyes widen. Like he goes, "Wow." Like a revelation hit his mind. He goes, "Wow. I never even thought of it that way. I always just thought I'd have so much longer to live with to see my father." And he goes, but you're totally right. If I only see my father and he lives to the average male age, you're right. That's only 24 more times to see him. So, you know, that's always in the back of my head when I'm taking care of these people is you never know how long someone's going to have on this earth. And if you're taking for granted the amount of times you're seeing them, if you're planning the times that you're going to visit them, you're going to miss out on so much more. Like, I don't know. None of us know how long our parents are going to be here, you know, but you know what my wife gets to do every weekend? She gets to see her mom and dad every weekend. They get to go to church. I think a couple weeks ago, they went to LA and they went to Knott's Berry Farm, you know, and in my mind, the way I am, I feel blessed to know that we made what was a hard choice, but what is a right choice. Because no matter how old your parents are, no matter how old your family is, being with them or being close enough to them that you can, at a moment's notice, go spend some time with them, in my opinion, is very, very important. I'm a very big family guy, like I said, which, again, circles me back to why I feel so badly about how our culture just discards our parents when they get older. I told my dad once. He goes, son. He goes, he goes, TJ. I'm a junior, so my dad calls me TJ, Tom Junior, and my dad goes, TJ, what are you gonna do if I get too old to take care of myself? And I was like, Dad, I'll tell you what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna throw you in our attic, and I'll visit you occasionally. I am so adamant that my hope is that I will never put any of my family into any type of care facility. That's the last thing I want to do. So when my dad asks me, "What are you gonna do if I get too old and I can't live, can't take care of myself?" Well, you can live with me, and we'll take care of you, because that's what I would want to be done for me. That's what I hope I can do for my dad. That's what I hope I can teach my children about taking care of their parents, us, when we get too old to do it. So that's what I do. That's what I believe. And that's what I hope for growing up as an older person. You know, when you start to get older, you start to have to think about this stuff. I'll be right back. I'll go check on my client real quick. I'll be right back.